State Farm National Bureau of Assists agent Cliff Paul is a visionary assister, just like his twin brother, Chris Paul. Cliff's signature no-ask assist is always a customer pleaser.
Don't worry, Greg. I'm here to help with the window. He's here to help with the passing. Cool.
No matter where the assist is needed, it always ends up in the right hands. The best assist is one you never see coming.
We have some news for you.
I think we need a bigger house.
David, I'm taking the job.
Yeah, I'll look for a job tomorrow.
I'm moving to New York.
I think I need to move home.
Important conversations happen every day around your kitchen table. When you're ready to discuss insurance, we're here to listen.
So now what?
Physicians Mutual. Insurance for all of us.
And it's live television. You're on.
Oh my gosh, I gotta watch that. You guys do it.
All righty, that's Mike Kennedy. I'm Harry Schroeder. It's Voices of the Valley, and Kayla is a big part of the social media thing for you guys at Wichita State.
It really is, and marketing and stuff, and did a great job with the Senior Day video and some of those kinds of things.
Mike, longtime broadcaster with Wichita State, and you guys have had just such a fun run, you know. But this year's been just a little bit different. Talk a little bit about this season as compared to some of the others.
Well, we started out obviously with great optimism, preseason top 10, and then Fred Van Vliet came up with a hamstring injury, which you know, you just don't expect that, and played against Tulsa and hit 3 threes right before half to give them the lead, and everything's great. And then the second half, he kind of tweaked it again and played, but wasn't at full speed. They lost that game. Then he missed the next one and tried to play about 3 minutes and couldn't play and missed the games in Orlando. And that's when everybody got the impression that, well, this isn't the team we thought.
That's not who they're going to be, right?
And you know, that was Alabama, USC, and Iowa, 2 of which at least are going to be NCAA teams, and even Alabama's been getting some recognition as a possible NCAA team. 2 of those games were 3 and 4 points without Fred, without Connor Frankamp, who wasn't eligible.
And
yet.
Shamet, who you were
Shamet
expecting a lot from.
Already had a stress fracture, and then Anton Grady had the scary injury.
Concussion, a spinal concussion, right?
Against Alabama, and missed the end of that game and the Iowa game. Once Fred came back, it started to become the team we thought it would be again, and Frankamp became eligible and started to get comfortable, and Grady eventually came back, and so down the stretch, this team has become the team that we all thought it would be, and I believe as good as any of these recent Wichita State teams.
I think something like 20-3, the last 23, some number like that, and I am so much louder than you, Mike. Well, let me turn that down. So, yeah, you guys kind of look like the Shockers again. And I was talking to Paul yesterday, Solentrop, and my favorite Shocker is Shaq Morris. Tell me if that's a well-founded favorite.
Well, yes, I think so. But and he is one of the most likable kids that's ever come through the program. But I think part of what he struggled with early on was that he is so likable. He's always been able to, in high school and starting out in college, academically and everything else, kind of slide by on charm and personality and didn't want to work as hard as he needed to. And I think he would certainly readily admit that. And so it was a battle for a while between him and Coach Marshall. One thing I want to say about Coach Marshall is that he is tough on his players. The expectations are high. Doesn't mistreat them, but certainly that he drives them and pushes them. But he is also a guy who's willing to, if he thinks a player has potential, and that player is willing to at least try to meet him halfway. He'll stick with you and keep working. And that finally came to pass. It was down in Orlando, really, that they were about ready, I think, to part company.
No kidding.
And it was to that point. And then Shaq played pretty well against Iowa in the last game down there. And it's been uphill ever since. And I think Coach Marshall feels like there's still another step or two that he can take. But he now feels like Shaq understands what they expect and need from him. He's really trying to give them all he can. He's trying to just get in better shape all the time, increase his longevity on the court, and the more he does that, the better this team gets, because he is a talent.
Yeah, we were courtside here at Scott Trade Center before the opening round, the opening of the games of the second round of the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament, and I sat right here last year, Mike, and I had my little iPad out, and I'm taking videos just down here during the games. And I was just looking at those the other day, and it dawned on me how much thinner Shaq Morris is this year over last year. Because I was looking at that, and I said, wait, he's different. So then I went back and remembered, like, when you guys were in town to play against St. Louis U, I thought, he's in a lot better shape.
And it's not even so much dropping pounds as just streamlining himself,
leaner,
cutting
right,
his body
yeah.
a little bit. And he is remarkably quick on his feet for someone as big as he is, and very explosive. Quick off the floor, really explosive. You know, one quick step and can dunk it. He can block shots, and he's got nice touch for a big guy. So he's got a lot of upside. And the way he's playing, and then the way Anton Grady has continued to play since it's a really good two-headed five-man for him.
Let's talk a little bit about your history with Wichita. We had you on the show last year. We don't have to regurgitate all the things, but long time with the Shockers, and you just become a part of the team, a part of the program, don't you? I mean, what's that like for a guy like you?
Well, I think part of the fun of doing this is the relationships. I mean, that's what really sticks with you. You learn is the relationships that you develop over the years, whether it's people within your own program or just you and I have gotten to know each other and the other guys that do games around the valley. But I've been there long enough to really have some history, kind of know what have been the ups and downs, to really be able to appreciate what's happening now. And then when you get to a point where kids that were student athletes when you started now have kids coming back to play in the program, which has happened a couple of times, or you just see them come back with their young families and that sort of thing and see how they're doing. That really, to me, that's one of the best parts of being associated with college athletics.
Final Four, 35-0, beating Kansas. Where do you take me through those three things? Which 1, 2, 3?
Obviously, reaching the Final Four is number one of those experiences, and for me, it was just kind of vindication of what I'd always believed could happen.
Sure.
Although you reach a point. There were 13 years there where we struggled, and you started to wonder, is it really possible? But I just believed that the potential was there in the program, the history, the financial support. If they got the right guy who really believed what it could be and could keep him for a while, right. And that's happened. And honestly, I think this is the greatest era of Wichita State basketball. So getting to a Final Four was pretty amazing and just a tremendous feeling. Beating Kansas last year was huge for the fans, especially. They've always resented that Kansas doesn't want to play them. And if you grew up in Wichita or in Kansas and you went to Wichita State or even told somebody you're going to Wichita State and they were a KU person, there's a condescending attitude that develops. And I know that's true in North Carolina and other places where the state university looks down on the others. But if you felt that all your life, you're tired of it. And so to beat them decisively was a big thing for a lot of people.
I desperately wanted one of those yellow shirts that said Kings of Kansas. Are they still available? Are they on campus?
Probably so. And the other thing you mentioned, the one that was really unique was that undefeated season where you just kept going through it and you go, 23-0, we're 26-0, we're 30-0. And then right here in this building, right down to Fred Van Vliet had a three to win the game at the buzzer that I would have bet my life would go in and didn't. And just like that, it's over. That's one of the strangest feelings I've ever had. You lose one time and the season's over, you're done, and you're just going, what happened? Why aren't we still playing? It was just wild.
You know, I don't think I'll ever forget that game, and I think it was an NCAA tournament game, and so I wasn't privileged to be down here with you important people, so I was up in bird heaven, in the other press box, and just watching Cleanthony Early hitting jump shot after jump shot from like press row pretty much, and the intensity of that game, it was one of the most exciting basketball games I've ever been in.
It's as good a game as I've ever seen, and it was, each team just kept making plays, one play after another at both ends. I know when it was over and they were doing the handshake line, one of the Harrison brothers said to Ron Baker, "You are a bad boy." And Ron said, "So are you," and that kind of summed up the day.
Tell me a little bit, okay, here we are, 2016. What do you really anticipate the Shocker team being able to do beyond this tournament, and do you think they have to win this tournament to go play in the next tournament?
I do not. I
don't want to either, but I'm always nervous. I lived through Barry and Missouri State.
There are a couple of sites out there. Jerry Palm continues to contend that they have to do that, but Joe Lenardi just said on Twitter this week they're a lock, and I think he's pretty pretty accurate most of the time. And the other thing is they have some credibility. It's not like it's the first year they've had a good year or something. They have some history.
They do have the eye test. They do have reputation.
And so I think all of that's in their favor. Certainly, I think they have to win today, and it wouldn't hurt to get to the finals. But I think they're in pretty good shape, and I think they're very focused right now. But what do I think they can do? I think this is a year when they really have a legitimate chance to go back to the Final Four, and honestly, maybe even win it all. Now, having said that, it's the kind of year where they could lose.
I'll be quoting you later on Twitter.
They could lose their first game. They could be a 6 or a 7 and lose to a 10 or 11, because that's the kind of year it is in college basketball.
Year, isn't it?
But it's also a year where a team like Wichita State that defends well, that has some of those things that give them a chance to be in every game, could get hot and go all the way.
That's the thing that impresses me. Everybody knows the Shockers defend. By the way, it's Mike Kennedy, he's the play-by-play voice of Wichita State. Everybody knows they defend, but then when you look at the numbers, their numbers are weird good.
Yeah.
I mean, they just shut people down.
And I'll tell you what it is. This is the deepest team I think he's had. And they come off the bench with athletes like Rashard Kelly and Marcus McDuffie and Anton Grady. And so the pressure never lets up. They have great defenders on that first unit, but it doesn't slack off much when guys come off the bench. And so that pressure is constant, maybe more so than it's ever been. And they turn people over, consistently turn people over.
That's the crazy numbers. And then the shooting percentages have plummeted since everybody's back. And
yeah, they're outscoring people by just under 10 points a game, just on points off turnovers. And when you can do something like that, it gives you a lot of advantage.
When I broke these numbers down earlier in the year and I asked Greg about it, I started looking at every game, and it was like 90% of the games, the leading scorer on the other team, the typical leading scorer, was just obliterated, like nowhere near their season average. And I asked Greg, I said, so do you set out, we're going to chop off the head of the snake. Is that what you're doing? Oh, no, he says. We just want to defend. And of course, you'd have to stop their best player. But they just kill people. I mean, the best players are constantly the players that have their worst games.
Well, and they have guys individually that are good enough to do that. When you have Zach Brown and Baker, for instance, that'll take turns on a guy like Valentine or Bean and just make them work so hard for shots, they may eventually get close to their average, but they'll take way more shots than you would ideally like for them to do that. The other thing that has really stood out to me about the numbers, they lead the nation in defensive scoring average. But beyond that, over the last 24 games, it's not like they're holding teams that average 56 to 55. They're holding people to an average of almost 15 points a game under their composite scoring average.
It's just bizarre what they do. And like you said, I think it goes to the depth a little bit. I mean, because they've always defended pretty rapidly.
Yeah.
So we've decided, Mike Kennedy says they're going to win the national championship.
I did not say that. They, along with about 24 other teams, probably have a shot.
No, I'm tweeting it out later, Mike said. But, you're graduating these three guys that have won all these games and two other guys as well, of course. But what's the look of this team next year? I mean, you've got a lot of good players coming back. Fran Camp looks like he's the real deal, and Marcus McDuffie looks terrific. And the little bit we saw of Shamet, you think, okay, he's really good. But how do you look at this team going forward? Because it will be a facelift, even though a lot of these guys are back.
From a talent standpoint, this team might even be better overall next year and as deep or deeper, but it will just be different because Baker and Van Vliet and Wessel are so smart and so savvy and just don't make mistakes, and they're just always in the right place at the right time. And so we're all going to have to learn to live with a few more things that we're not used to seeing the last 3 or 4 years in terms of occasional turnovers or somebody missing an assignment or that kind of thing. And that's just, it just goes with the territory. And honestly, I don't know if we'll ever see another point guard like Fred Van Vliet. He's the best I've ever seen in over 30 years of covering college basketball.
And did you see it as freshman year? Paul and I were talking about this yesterday. Malcolm Armstead was so good that year that Fred was a freshman. And I thought, well, Van Vliet looks pretty good, but our Armstead, and then Fred's like off the charts.
That's the thing you never know either. And he got better and better. The thing that impressed me about him that year, Harry, was he'd go into a game and maybe somebody'd beat him on a play or just break him down and beat him. and you'd think, well, I don't know, maybe he's not quick enough to handle this guy. He'd get on the bench and watch and think about it, and the next time he came in, he'd have it figured out. He wouldn't let it happen again. Even within the same game, he'd make those adjustments, which is really unusual. So, you know, for a while next year, I think it's going to be a case of maybe the overall talent helping win out over some of those kinds of intangibles that we've been used to, and you hope that those things develop. And Shamet, for instance, is a kid very much like Ron Baker and Fred VanVleet, very mature for his age, very basketball savvy, and so you hope, you know, he can bring some of that. And
will he be a freshman again? Like
yes,
so.
He'll apply for a hardship, and he'll start out as a freshman again with a little bit of advantage of having practiced and played for a while. Anyway.
We'll let you get ready. I know your game is coming up in a minute. This is Mike Kennedy. He's the Hall of Fame play-by-play voice of the Wichita State Shockers. That's all I do is bring Hall of Famers on. I got Reese coming. I had Snell on yesterday. I just talked to Hall of Famers.
Well, this is a guy who's one of the really good people in our business, so it's always a pleasure to
you're very kind. We'll take a break. Mike Reese will join us from Southern Illinois in just a minute. You're watching Voices of the Valley right here on ValleyHoopsInsider.com.
State Farm National Bureau of Assists agent Cliff Paul is a visionary assister, just like his twin brother, Chris Paul. Cliff's signature no-ask assist is always a customer pleaser.
Don't worry, Greg. I'm here to help with the window. He's here to help with the passing.
No matter where the assist is needed, it always ends up in the right hands. The best assist is one you never see coming.
We have some news for you.
I think we need a bigger house.
David, I'm taking the job.
Yeah, I'll look for a job tomorrow.
I'm moving to New York.
I think I need to move home.
Important conversations happen every day around your kitchen table. When you're ready to discuss insurance, we're here to listen.
So now what?
Physicians Mutual. Insurance for all of us.
State Farm National Bureau of Assists agent Cliff Paul is a visionary assister, just like his twin brother, Chris Paul. Cliff's signature no-ask assist is always a customer pleaser.
Don't worry, Greg. I'm here to help with the window. He's here to help with the passing.
No matter where the assist is needed, it always ends up in the right hands. The best assist is one you never see coming.
We have some news for you.
I think we need a bigger house.
David, I'm taking the job.
Yeah, I'll look for a job tomorrow.
I'm moving to New York.
I think I need to move home.
Important conversations happen every day around your kitchen table. When you're ready to discuss insurance, we're here to listen.
So now what?
Physicians Mutual. Insurance for all of us.
State Farm National Bureau of Assists agent Cliff Paul is a visionary assister, just like his twin brother, Chris Paul. Cliff's signature no-ask assist is always a customer pleaser.
Don't worry, Greg. I'm here to help with the window. He's here to help with the passing.
No matter where the assist is needed, it always ends up in the right hands. The best assist is one you never see coming.
Welcome back, and Mike Reese is with us. He's the legendary play-by-play voice of the legendary.
Stop it.
Southern Illinois Salukis.
Are legends always positive?
Always.
Because that's always a positive?
Always are.
I know some people who are legends that it's not very positive. 37 years. Harry Kennedy and I are in a battle to see who can hang on the longest.
And I think Snell said he's 37.
Yes, he is 37 as well.
Amazing.
None of us can get jobs.
So, listen, we talked last year. I guess we didn't. You
We did
make
not.
my show last year.
No.
We can
it was
reminisce
my
then.
fault, too, folks. It was my fault.
We can reminisce.
I'm sure I was busy with the play-in round.
You were.
We were gone before you started taping. Go ahead. I'll shut up now.
No, it's very good. 37 years there. You've seen a lot. I mean, Rich Herron, those years were terrific, and the Floor Burn U years, and a little bit of a renaissance now.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, seeing Brian Mullins over there on the sideline the other day, yesterday with Loyola, That's kind of weird, isn't it?
Yeah, and Paul Lusk is coaching at Missouri State. The head coach, Brad Korn, is the assistant coach. Brian Mullins is an assistant at Loyola. Marcus Belcher at Indiana State played at Southern.
Right.
And really all part, Harry, of good moments in St. Louis, too. Lusk is one I'll never forget in '95 because it was his senior year. Southern had a very good team. Carr, Timmons, and Lusk. We go by threes at Southern Illinois, and that team was Carr, Timmons, and Lusk. And Paul didn't get going until postseason, and he was terrific here. And that's one of my favorite Missouri Valley Conference tournament memories because he's such a likable guy and a guy I have a lot of respect for. And then here he is, he was struggling and he got back on his game and he was really pressing. And the way he played in the championship game, especially the second half, was key.
He is such a good guy, and I was, if you're like me, every team that wins, I'm like, oh, I'm really glad for. Oh, but then there's a guy on the other side that lost, and I was so happy for him yesterday, and then sad for the team they beat.
Yeah, and that's why when people ask all of us who are too old, Snell, Kennedy, Gary Ryma's done it forever. Art Haynes has done it forever. What you end up remembering early in your career, when you're young and think you know everything, you always remember the games. Well, now you remember the people, and it's so cool to see Salukis who are coaching now. And even though it's hard when you beat them or they beat you, in the end, it's still a fun thing.
Yeah, absolutely. When I first started paying attention to the Valley and being here at the tournament and whatnot, but after a little while, that Floorburn those times with Tatum, and Young, and Mullins, that was kind of a real heady time.
It was. And look, I've said this, Harry, about Southern, and I believe it. Rich Herron, his revival in the mid-'90s kept Southern from going Division II. I think it was really a possibility. And Bruce Weber took Southern into the real world of Division I, and Floorburn U was part of that. It didn't become Floorburn U until really Chris Lowry became the coach several years later, but the mindset began with Coach Weber. Those are great times. Hall of Fame players. Kent Williams is a Hall of Famer at Southern, the second leading scorer of all time. Jermaine Dearman will be a Hall of Famer. Jamal Tatum is a Hall of Famer. There's some great players in that group, in those groups, and that's a nickname that has stuck, and that doesn't always happen, especially at the mid-major level, but even Barry Hinson references it now. I'm not sure Southern could play like that now.
Right.
Brian Mullins would disagree. He said it's not like we were fouling on every play, because he and I have talked, it sure like the other teams felt that way, Brian. But there's probably some validity to that, but those are some great teams, and Southern during that time, during the Floorburn U time, only won the conference tournament once, and that was 06, and it had to win it to go to postseason. The other years, Creighton was winning the tournament all the time and getting the automatic, and Southern was the at-large team. And I think that's something to be proud of, too. Southern's not proud that it couldn't beat Creighton to win the conference tournament, Harry, but Southern is proud, and rightfully so, that it made it as an at-large, because we see even now how hard that is to get done.
Those years were really incredible, and it was during those years when this place was 22,000 plus on a semifinal and final night.
07, yeah.
Is that about as cool as it gets?
Yes. Yeah, and probably the only teams that can do that now is if Southern would get back to that level and Wichita would stay at that level.
Sure.
I think that could happen now. There's enough gold and black here in St. Louis this weekend to push that thing to 10, just as Creighton did. The problem is Southern hasn't been as good.
Right.
Southern then and now is a walk-up crowd. That is to say, Southern's people are within 2 hours of St. Louis, and so they will walk up the day of the game. They'll wait and see when Southern's playing, who Southern's playing. And so that's a big part of it. But that was amazing in 2007. To have 20,000 for the semis, 22 for the championship game. It still gives me chills just thinking about it, because there were people sitting everywhere here.
Everywhere, right?
Exactly,
they were
right.
Scalping outside, you know what I mean? Like scalping.
Yes, yeah, not trying to get rid of a $50 ticket for 10. Yeah, I understand that. That was a huge time. It's going to be difficult to top that, but never say never, because who would have thought that could have happened to begin with?
Talk about your turnaround this year, Barry, and the team. Obviously, out of nowhere have a great year.
Well, it's stunning, and you're right when you say out of nowhere. Even the most diehard Saluki fan who thinks that Southern walks on water didn't expect this.
No.
To be 10 games better and counting, it looks like a good shot for one of the C tournaments, CBI or CIT. No one expected this. They lost 5 players, left the program last year. So why would you have the confidence that they could replace them and replace them quickly?
Right.
But they did. The addition of assistant coaches Brad Autry and John Clancy have been huge in the program. Barry will not say that he's made many changes, but he's changed some things in player relations. That's helped. Autry and Clancy, in my opinion anyway, have helped with that too. He's remained true to his principles, Barry has, but he's tweaked some other things, and I think that's really helped. But in the end, Harry, he can coach like he coached in the 1980s, or he can coach like he's coaching right now, or like everybody would prefer a coach to be, but you still have to have players, and you still have to have guards. And Southern added Mike Rodriguez and Leo Vincent. Tyler Smith-Peters improved. This allowed Anthony Bean to move to the 3 spot, the wing spot, and that's his natural position, so he can stay at the 20 points per game. We can have a better club as a consequence. Bola has grown in the post. We're now here in February. He's a double-digit rebound guy. It was, it always will be about players. It always will be at the mid-major level about guards. And Southern has better guards than it's had since 2008. And Southern has a point guard for the first time, a consistent point guard for the first time. Even though Rodriguez has had his moments, it has a point guard for the first time since Brian Mullins.
It's Mike Reese. He's a Southern Illinois play-by-play announcer. You're watching Voices of the Valley here on ValleyHoopsInsider.com. And I think you're right. They're going to play in one of the C tournaments. I like how you said that. I think that's a foregone conclusion. They'll be playing beyond this weekend. And that, to me, is just a gigantic accomplishment for Barry. And what was it like for you yesterday when he gets the Coach of the Year award? I know many people were happy, but many emotional.
Yes, and he especially. Mitch Holtis's introduction was perfect.
It was.
I'm glad he went off script. They have a close relationship, and that really helped that. I think if he knew, he didn't tell anybody. It was special. I think most Saluki fans were happy for him. I think even his biggest detractors may say, you know what? Because yes, and but Southern rallies behind a lot of things, and Barry Hinson has done good work in the community. He is very appreciative of this chance. Though when he talks about the league, when he talks about Southern's tradition, when he talks about those sorts of things, he talks from the heart, and he's not fabricating.
Right.
There's not drama. It truly means something to him. He's not acting. He is so appreciative of this second chance. It's been a harder job than he ever thought it would be, and as a person who has lived through the 4 years, ups and downs, I am so happy to see this. I'm very happy for him. He seems to me to be in a much better place this season. A lot of that has to do, there's some separation from the tragedy of his son-in-law dying in his house on Christmas Eve, or Christmas Day, and distance helps with those sorts of things. And so I know I'm rambling, but he has, but he said you seem to have plenty of time, the digital space.
Yeah,
but no, you're right when you say people are genuinely happy for him, and I can tell people are happy in the league, even the people who thought Greg Marshall should get it, and there are a number of those, and he had more first place votes.
And you could have made that argument.
Yes,
for sure.
Exactly right. No one, even those people, the people that believe that Marshall should have gotten it, are happy that somebody else was going to get it, that Barry Hinson got it.
You know, he had winning seasons all the time. Missouri State ends up losing
Didn't go to the
his job.
NCAAs.
Right.
He didn't go to the NCAAs.
They made that fatal mistake of maybe thinking they were more than they were supposed to. You know, we're supposed to be more than we are.
A lot of schools do that.
Yeah.
And not just at the Missouri Valley level. They think they're better than they really are. And the business is so different now. You get 3 years. that's why there was pressure on Coach Hinson this season. You get 3 years. These coaches sign 5-year contracts, but you get 3 years to show you can do it, and then move on. And either the coach moves on if you do it, or the school moves on if you don't do it. And so there was some pressure on him this season. But
and particularly with all the exodus.
Yes,
we're not winning, and all these guys left.
And there were 3 of those players. Two of the players were freshmen.
Yeah.
And people thought, now you got a good core. Well, and it's back to the original comment: are you going to be able to replace them? And Southern did replace them. It has to recruit again because Bean is a huge loss. And they still don't have a person to help with that. They need somebody like him. Although replacing the 3rd leading scorer is going to be a monumental task. But it'll be spread around many, and so we'll see what happens.
Final question, because I know you got to get ready and move on for the stuff you're doing today. Tell me a little bit, the one big hiccup loss to me was at SIU, against SIUE.
Yes.
And
right here for you guys.
Thank you, sir. But I thought that was like an important game, meaning, they're across the river from us here, and I pay a lot of attention to the Ohio Valley as well. If they become relevant in the Ohio Valley, and then they're actually a decent program, you guys could have a real extensive rivalry that goes outside the league.
I'll be interested to see. You make a legitimate point, but they have to improve.
Oh, yeah.
And because Southern's in a predicament now, schedule-wise, with a number of 200 pluses they can play.
Right.
And it'll be interesting to see if they continue to play. As for that loss, and back to just expand for a moment, the way the Valley makes teams schedule now, Southern has got to watch the number of 300s that it plays, and non-conference strength of schedule is a big deal, and it's an important part of why Southern's at 120 or whatever it is with 22 wins this season. And but Southern's non-conference RPI is, because it won so many games, is like 5th in the league. So they won the games that they played. So, but anyway, the Edwardsville thing I think was an important wake-up call. They had another game like that versus Loyola at home. So the wake-up call from the Edwardsville game lasted about a month. And then they did the same thing against Loyola at home, not to disparage Loyola, but if you're going to lose to Loyola, it should happen on the road, because they were limping coming into the ball game at Carbondale. But Southern got into some stretches this season where it didn't know how to handle success, and the Edwardsville game was one of them.
Appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
So listen, I cheat all the time and listen into your guys' games when I can, and so appreciate the work of guys all throughout this league, because I listen to Snell, and I listen to Kennedy, and I listen to you, and I listen to Art, and listen to Gary Ryman the other night. I mean, I'm an addict, and so I try to find the games because I love the league, but I love the way you guys work, and you guys are all homers in the right sense, meaning you're pulling for your team, but you're really evaluating it honestly.
Well, my team doesn't walk on water, Harry.
Right.
And I can't say that Southern is the, and I appreciate you saying that, I can't say Southern, my philosophy is say it but don't belabor it. When Southern is good, say it but don't make them out to be Kentucky. When Southern loses, say it but don't make them out to be the worst team in Division I. And tell the truth, because especially now with every game's on television, I can't say Southern's great, and then you tune in and they lose by 30. I mean, all we have is our credibility. And that's what I try to strive for. And hopefully people who get mad when I say some things also say, I wish he hadn't said it, but what he said was right. And I hope they say he was fair. And I appreciate you having me on.
Really glad you were with us today. Mike Reese, the play-by-play voice of the Southern Illinois Salukis. They play later on today. Tune in, find him, listen. He's one of the very best out there in the country. We'll be right back. Art Haynes, who's not bad himself at Missouri State, will be joining us in just a little bit. You're watching Voices of the Valley here on ValleyHoopsInsider.com.
State Farm National Bureau of Assists agent Cliff Paul is a visionary assister, just like his twin brother, Chris Paul. Cliff's signature no-ask assist is always a customer pleaser.
Don't worry, Greg. I'm here to help with the window. He's here to help with the passing.
Cool. No matter where the assist is needed, it always ends up in the right hands. The best assist is one you never see coming.
We have some news for you.
I think we need a bigger house.
David, I'm taking the job.
Yeah, I'll look for a job tomorrow.
I'm moving to New York.
I think I need to move home.
Important conversations happen every day around your kitchen table. When you're ready to discuss insurance, we're here to listen.
So now what?
Physicians Mutual. Insurance for all of us.
State Farm National Bureau of Assist's agent Cliff Paul is a visionary assister, just like his twin brother, Chris Paul. Cliff's signature no-ask assist is always a customer pleaser.
Don't worry, Greg. I'm here to help with the window. He's here to help with the passing.
No matter where the assist is needed, it always ends up in the right hands. The best assist is one you never see coming.
We have some news for you.
I think we need a bigger house.
David, I'm taking the job.
Yeah, I'll look for a job tomorrow.
I'm moving to New York.
I think I need to move home.
Important conversations happen every day around your kitchen table. When you're ready to discuss insurance, we're here to listen.
So now what?
Physicians Mutual. Insurance for all of us.
State Farm National Bureau of Assist's agent Cliff Paul is a visionary assister, just like his twin brother, Chris Paul. Cliff's signature no-ask assist is always a customer pleaser.
Don't worry, Greg. I'm here to help with the window. He's here to help with the passing.
No matter where the assist is needed, it always ends up in the right hands. The best assist is one you never see coming.
Well, welcome back to Voices of the Valley. I'm pleased to be joined today by Larry Kotler, longtime broadcaster of the Drake Bulldogs. And Larry, coming to St. Louis every year, it's got to be fun.
Well, it's particularly fun because it's my hometown. I mean, I grew up here. I grew up in University City. Then I moved to Des Moines when I was a sophomore in high school, kind of dragged kicking and screaming because I love St. Louis, always been a Cardinal fan. So it's great to come home.
When you look at your job day in and day out broadcasting Bulldog games, you kind of feel like an extension of the team, feel like a guy that's trying to tell or sell their message?
Well, I look at myself as part of the family. I feel like it's my family from November till the first part of March, or, hopefully as long as we go. But that's it. I have my regular family, but everything kind of works around that because you have to work schedules and everything. But you get close to the guys. I mean, that's the thing. You don't get in their way, but you also get close to them. You have a real feeling for them. It gets really emotional. I'm sure the other guys will tell you the same thing, that you are a part of the team and you kind of live and die with them.
This is Larry Kotler. He's the voice of the Bulldogs of Drake. And I did want to ask you a basketball question, too. When Drake hired Ray Giacoletti, I thought, look out, this is going to be a great hire. And it hasn't exactly gone according to form. But I still think he's the right guy and the right kind of guy.
I totally agree with you. I'll be real honest with you, Harry. This year has not been the kind of season that anyone expected. We thought, sure, we wouldn't be playing on Thursday night in the either the 8-9 or the 7-10 game. But things just haven't worked out. It's almost like Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong. We've had guys step up who weren't supposed to step up and hit shots against us, and it just kind of went on a downhill slide. The good thing is that we're coming in here on a one-game winning streak, which may not sound like much, but when you're 2-16 in the Valley, we played a much better game. And the thing is, this team is very young. 10 of 13 players are sophomores or freshmen. So it's a very, very young team. It's the second youngest team to Bradley in this tournament. So I think good things are still ahead, but obviously it's not where we want to be this year.
Tell us how to say the young center's name.
Olinacek.
Oh, yeah, that's easy.
This is the second toughest name to say because a lot of people have trouble with Ori Arogandade.
Yeah, that's right.
That seems to be the one that really gets me. They go. We got Olinacek, but we haven't got Arogandade.
That guy.
I just call him Ori most of the time anyway.
Listen, you're holding a book. You wrote a book a little while ago, and tell us a little bit about that. I think it's so exciting when guys like you that have been around and done a lot of different things actually produce something that I can hold in my hand and pay attention to.
Well, I'll tell you what. I wrote a book on the encouragement of a friend of mine because I wanted to get more into public speaking, and I said, how do I do that? He says, you need a product. He says, and you are a product. You've been in this business 35 to 40 years. You've worked nationally. You've worked locally. So he said, why not write about your career? So I did. The book is called The Biggest Rolodex in Sports. And on the cover, now it appeals a lot to Iowans because you have Hayden Fry, and you have Johnny Orr, and you have Dan Gable, my longtime broadcast partner, Dolph Pulling. But I also worked at the One-on-One Sports Radio Network out of Vegas and Chicago. So I have a lot of national people that I've spoken with as well. And the stories are in the book. There's no bashing in this. This is not controversial. This is just stories.
You're not pulling back the curtain and telling us all the deep, dark secrets. What you are, though, is letting us know about people and some of the fun things.
Right. Telling some of the stories, the most interesting interview I ever had, and just fun things that fun things that I was able to, to gather from people, and just, some of the events that I covered. So it's just, everybody's told me they just enjoy reading it because it's not heavy reading. It's not War and Peace. It'll probably take you about a day and a half at the most if you really put your mind to it, but hopefully people will enjoy it.
Give us one story from the book that you think would be fun, kind of intrigue people.
Okay. I'll tell you a little bit about the most memorable interview. Charlie Finley. And you know who Charlie Finley was, of course. Well, Charlie Finley, first I had to remind him about the interview because when I called him to double check, he goes, well, I don't know anything about an interview. So I had to call him to remind him. And it was supposed to be a half-hour interview, 2 15-minute segments. We got done with the first half hour. He goes, you want to go some more? And I had a choice between Charlie Finley or 3 fishing reports that were on tape. No choice. So we went another 15 minutes. Then we get to the top of the hour, which is the natural news break. And he goes once again, he says, you want to go some more? I'm going, wow. We've never talked before. And
We're talking Charlie Finley, owner of the A's, the white shoes, the whole 9 yards.
So we go for another 15 minutes, which means now we've gone an hour. And I've got another guest coming up, Bob Golby. People from around here would know who that is.
Golfer.
Right, exactly. And once again, I said, Charlie, thanks for coming on. He says, well, do you want to go some more? And I said, well, I've got another guest coming up. And he says, well, tell you what, if the guy stiffs you, call me back, we'll go some more. So I know we talked about orange baseball, neon baseballs.
Sure.
And
Washington, you had to talk about it all.
All that stuff. But, it's just such a thrill to be able to do that.
Wow, how fun. The book is called, say it again.
The Biggest Rolodex in Sports. And people can buy it. They can get it online, probably easiest for this audience to, LarryKotler.com, and that's COTLAR. It won't break your wallet. I promise you that. But hopefully some fun stories in here. And, again, for St. Louis people, we got a chapter on the Cardinals. So hopefully people will enjoy it. And it's a great Father's Day gift or Christmas gift or whatever.
There you go, Easter, whatever's coming your way. That's Larry Kotler. I'm Harry Schroeder. We'll be back with more of Voices on the Valley in just a minute. You're watching it right here on ValleyHoopsInsider.com.
State Farm National Bureau of Assists agent Cliff Paul is a visionary assister, just like his twin brother, Chris Paul. Cliff's signature no-ask assist is always a customer pleaser.
Don't worry, Greg. I'm here to help with the window. He's here to help with the passing.
No matter where the assist is needed, it always ends up in the right hands. The best assist is one you never see coming.
We have some news for you.
I think we need a bigger house.
David, I'm taking the job.
Yeah, I'll look for a job tomorrow.
I'm moving to New York.
I think I need to move home.
Important conversations happen every day around your kitchen table. When you're ready to discuss insurance, we're here to listen.
So now what?
Physicians Mutual. Insurance for all of us.
State Farm National Bureau of Assists agent Cliff Paul is a visionary assister, just like his twin brother, Chris Paul. Cliff's signature no-ask assist is always a customer pleaser.
Don't worry, Greg. I'm here to help with the window. He's here to help with the passing.
No matter where the assist is needed, it always ends up in the right hands. The best assist is one you never see coming.
We have some news for you.
I think we need a bigger house.
David, I'm taking the job.
Yeah, I'll look for a job tomorrow.
I'm moving to New York.
I think I need to move home.
Important conversations happen every day around your kitchen table. When you're ready to discuss insurance, we're here to listen.
So now what?
Physicians Mutual. Insurance for all of us.
Welcome back to everybody. Harry Schroeder with you. Our name's supposed to be joining us in just a minute. Glad to be with you courtside here at Scott Trade Center, the scene of the Missouri Valley men's basketball conference tournament sponsored by State Farm. In the first game today at noon, it's the Beast. You know, Wichita State will be here taking on Loyola, who had a big win last night over Bradley, and so their season continues on. They take on really what you might think of as like the unbeatable Shockers. You know, they're awfully good. And the Shockers warming up that far end, Loyola right out in front of us. Listen, this tournament is going to be a lot of fun. If you're in the St. Louis area, anywhere close by, you ought to figure out a way to get a ticket and show up here at Scott Trade Center. 4 games today, and so you got plenty of time, even if you're watching this live. Hop in your car, get on over here. So anyway, and then of course semifinals tomorrow. We were talking with Mike Kennedy and Mike Reese just earlier in this program, and the reality of what these teams have to do to play in the NCAA tournament or some of those other tournaments afterwards is before them. Wichita State, probably, if they lose today, maybe they can struggle here into the NCAA. If they win today, though, they're probably in. Southern Illinois, who plays later on, they're probably in one of the 3-letter tournaments, as is probably Northern Iowa and Illinois State. I think you could make a case for 4 or 5 teams in the Missouri Valley Conference making it into postseason play. Evansville, of course, that 5th team, the second-seeded team in this tournament. Final note before we go, and we're going to take a commercial break and see if Art Haynes can find his way here. Obviously, there's a lot going on for these play-by-play guys. They're setting up equipment and doing their pregame interviews and all those kinds of things. But over in the Ohio Valley Conference, for those of you that are coming onto our site because of that, what a weekend Austin Peay has already had. They knocked off the 5 seed, they knocked off the 4 seed. They take on the number 1 seed today down in Nashville in Music City Madness. Congratulations to Dave Luce and the governors of Austin Peay. So excited for them to just be shocking the Ohio Valley Conference world. We're going to take a final break. Hopefully we can find Art, and we'll be back in just a minute.
State Farm National Bureau of Assist's agent Cliff Paul is a visionary assister, just like his twin brother, Chris Paul.